Greetings and salutations all, I.S. Anderson here once again, and I'm going to do another book discussion, and today I'm going to do the book discussion on 50 Shades of Grey. Yes, definitely bound to be a very hyped up book, especially this February, the movie coming out, so I guess I might as well talk about it now since I also said I would during my trailer reaction. So as I stated before, I have read the entire series. Actually, more accurately, I've listened to it on audiobook. And originally I did get into it just because it was so hyped up, and I figured, well, I mean, if this book is this popular, maybe I should read it just so I'll be able to discuss it with people, because people will probably ask me about it. One of the very first things I remember hearing about it was that it was fan fiction for Twilight, and of course that immediately turned me off, but again, you know, it was so popular, I figured, well, okay, I'll just give it a try. And I did actually try to read Twilight, and I couldn't get through it. I think I got about 70 to 80 pages through it, and then just got so bored with it and threw it away. I'll talk about Twilight another time maybe, but for right now let's just stick with 50 Shades. An interesting thing about the whole Twilight fanfiction thing, I actually got into a conversation with a woman once about the book who was a big fan of 50 Shades of Grey, but did not like Twilight. So I had to sort of explain to her, I mean, she didn't know that 50 Shades was originally written as a Twilight fan fiction. And boy, was that fun to explain to her. Yeah, I pointed out certain things like, well, you remember how Edward saves Bella from the van and all that stuff, and then Christian saves Anna from the bike messenger. You know, he puts his hand out and stops it. And also, you know, the same love triangle, and, you know, how Bella is clumsy, and then Anna trips into his office and all that stuff, and yes, her face did some very interesting things, I must say. So when a lot of women talk about this book, I mean, the main thing that they get into right away is just, you know, Christian Grey. Oh, Christian Grey, he's so great, he's so great. And, you know, there's sometimes they talk about, well, he's an older gentleman. Well, you know, he's 27 and she's like 22, 23, something like that. So it's not really older gentleman, just older than her. But, I mean, that's what women really seem to cling to. And, yeah, I guess, I mean, let's analyze him just for a minute. I mean, he's perfectly good looking. He's like a Greek god, according to Anna, constantly. She certainly does say that enough. He's extremely wealthy. I mean, not only was he born into wealth, but he is also a self-made man, so he's like the richest guy in at least the city, and, you know, he has his own private helicopter, his private jets that he flies around in and everything, so, you know, he's got that going for him. And yet, despite all these things, despite how perfect he is, he still has a tragic backstory, and he's still damaged, so that it's still possible to fix him. And yes, all these things just make it completely impossible for us normal guys to compete with. Except for the fact that we actually exist. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about Anna as a character. And I know a lot of people give Anna gruff because, oh, they say, oh, she's just so stupid. How could she get involved with something like this? And, you know, she's boring and she's a blank slate. I mean, she's based off of Bella Swan, so, I mean, you gotta cut her a little bit of slack. And yeah, the thing about Anna is, I mean, she's designed to be that way. She's designed to be a suit for the reader to basically just unzip and slip on and be able to live, you know, out the story out through her experience. So I guess the reader can make out with Christian Grey or whatever. Another thing about Anna is that, I mean, this is her coming of age story. She's the one who's supposed to develop and mature into this person that we're supposed to admire, or at least to be able to tolerate by the end of the story. So of course she's going to start out real mousy and naive about the whole situation. She's just graduating from college, so she's got that, you know, that fear, that inexperience about her. But she does progress through the story, and she does develop as a character. I mean, maybe not as much as some people would like, but she does develop. And even Christian, I mean, he says to her once, you know, you're the most stubborn woman I've ever met in my life. So, of course, now there is the question is, why is this so popular? Why do so many women like this story? And yes, I understand not all women like it, and yes, there are a few men that do like it, but you know, if we're going to be completely honest, at least, you know, 98% of the fan base of this book is female. Okay, so to be honest, there is a bit of a porn factor involved in this. 50 Shades of Grey has been referred to as mommy porn or girl porn, and actually all erotica fiction is referred to as girl porn by a lot of people, as far as I know. And, you know, there is a stigma of, you know, Men prefer to watch their porn, and women prefer to read their porn. So there is that does factor in, but that's not the entire situation because there's a lot more erotic writing out there rather than just 50 Shades of Grey. And actually, to be fair, 50 Shades, it's kind of one of the tamer ones too, which that might be a factor as to why it's so popular because it's tamer. There is also the BDSM factor and curiosity. Yes, a lot of there's a lot of more people curious about this stuff than they're willing to admit, and this kind of provides women with a safe environment to explore that without having to actually participate in it or without having to tell other people that they have partaken in it. And I'm not here to advocate for or against BDSM or the lifestyle, and I'm certainly not an expert on the lifestyle, so I'm not going to explain or anything. But the curiosity factor does come into play when it comes to that. And also Christian Grey himself, he is a big contributing factor. I mean, you've all seen BookTube videos where the girls go on about their book boyfriends and all that stuff, and yes, Christian Grey certainly does fit that bill very well, and I hear women go on about him all the time. Nothing wrong with that, that's fine. But I think the biggest contributing factor as to why this is so popular, aside from the hype and everything else that I've just listed here, it's this concept of this ideal male figure, almost, to the point where he's, a fantasy rather than a reality, is attracted to this very average, very timid, meek girl that's just coming into the world. One thing I would like to bring up, despite what people may say about, 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight for all that matters, as much as people despise it, as much as people come up with reasons not to like either one of these stories, you have to admit these books have made a huge impact on, the publishing world as a whole. Foregoing all the Twilight clones and all the stories that came out that were exactly like Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey, there was actually an entire genre based on it, yes. And the genre I'm talking about is New Adult. And, New Adult, it's basically just like YA, only it involves people who are a bit older, like college age, and a little bit older, kind of like Anna. And yes, there is more sex involved, and I have heard a lot of people say, New Adult is basically young adult with sex in it, which is, it's a fair assessment, but still, this whole genre started just because of 50 Shades of Grey. So I was watching other people's trailer reactions to the 50 Shades of Grey trailer, and a lot of them that hadn't read the book said they were going to watch it. So, I don't know, I might want to recant my earlier statement on saying, people who aren't already fans of it or not probably won't see it. So it looks like this trailer is winning people over. So, again, it will be an interesting turnout to see, see what happens. I think it is going to be a big turnout. I think this is going to bring in a lot of people, but we will see. So before I go, I would like to mention that my short story, Modern Disciples, The Lost Volumes, will be free this weekend. It's only available on Kindle, but it will be free on Amazon. I will leave a link to it below. If you have a Kindle or if you don't mind installing the app on your computer, you can download that for free this weekend. As of this Monday, it'll no longer be free. It'll go back up to its 99-cent price. And as always, the pertinent contact information is down below in the abyss, so you can check it out there. And please comment, rate, subscribe. You know the drill. And until we see each other next time, this is Isaiah Sanderson saying, everybody, make your lives grand, and have a good day. Thank you very much.